Bear with us just 1 second.
You coming up?
Yep. We are good to go.
Okay. On all channels?
Looks like it.
All right. Well, are we wearing the same shirt today? We're twins. Welcome, everyone, to the 56th episode of the 034 Motorsport Live Q&A. We are on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebooks. And we're here to answer any questions, respond to any questions or comments you have about anything and all things 034. Anything you'd like to talk to us about. If you'd like us to weigh in on controversial topics, hotly debated yet never solved mysteries, grown man drama. That's what we did last week. We chimed in on that, and I think we're past that. That's great.
I think we
I think that's
settled that at least.
Yeah,
enough that we put our position out there.
Yeah, and of course we continue to sell our great new product that we released. And so for those of you who have ordered it and received it, thanks for the support. And we're happy to bring improvements to even products that have been on the market for 10 years. What else? If you don't agree with something, you don't like something about us, you're upset, go ahead and leave a comment, and we'd like to respond and hopefully make you unupset at us if we can.
Yeah, we can at least tell you why things might be the way they are, or if it's a legit thing that we can do some self-inflection on. And we're always looking to improve ourselves too.
Yeah, usually we don't know about these things. Certainly, maybe I don't or Nate doesn't, and we want everyone to be happy. We're genuinely trying to create a bunch of happy outcomes every day here at 034 Motorsport. So, make a quick comment. This weekend, I hit a 30-pound weight loss with my continued diet of eating about 1/4 of what I used to eat. So I think I used to eat about 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day. I'm about 1,500 now. So I'm just slowly losing a couple pounds a week, and I feel great. So
that's huge.
I went over this a couple shows ago, but it initially started with just cutting everything I ate in half, and then after a couple weeks, reducing that even more to the point where I'm not eating to get full, and I'm eating enough for energy to exercise and to live and to get through the day. And
is Facebook still up?
Yes.
And I can still eat whatever I want. I just don't eat as much of it. So there's no specific diets and stuff. So anyways, if you guys are thinking about losing some weight, I definitely recommend doing that. So, all right, let's jump into it. Let's see, So last week we announced, among putting out some fires, we announced the very exciting announcement of June 15th B9 S4 SQ5 3.0T tuning release.
S4, S5, and SQ5.
Mm-hmm. So we are still moving towards that. That's coming up. But I drove Nick's SQ5 for the weekend, which has our stage 1 flash on it. It's a bone stock otherwise, power-wise.
Yep.
And it's really fun. It's fast. It definitely, needs a bigger intercooler if you really want to hammer on it and accelerate gear after gear after gear. But, the occasional squirt of power to get onto the freeway or just to accelerate, for 1 or 2 gears, it's really fast.
Yeah, and the intercooler is an easy fix. That's been the case for a lot of models recently.
Yeah, every factory car needs an upgraded intercooler once you start tuning it. So drivability is like OEM. The car is really nice. So I know we're all very excited
to get approval to be able to release on June 15th.
Yeah. No, we did not. It's going to be...
Yeah.
There will be several other companies who are very unhappy with us.
Man. Yeah, somebody else already released a tune, so I guess we got to do something else.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend who's an eye doctor this weekend, and he's familiar with this whole situation. And I said, have you considered ever quitting being an eye doctor because there's other eye doctors? And he said no.
Okay.
He hadn't.
Okay.
So, all right. So someone is asking 2021 plus support for B9.5 S4 5 SQ5.
Yeah, we'll be filling those in. That's going to be a little bit out, just depending on box code of it, availability and what we see is going to be needed.
Yeah.
We've got a pretty good handle on everything up to 2020 through 2020, 2021 stuff. Yeah, we'll take that on pretty quick here.
Yeah.
As well.
Initially, we won't support it.
Yeah, it'll be up to
necessarily.
Honestly, it depends on what exact ECU ends up in the vehicle. Yeah. We've seen a number of 2021s with it's the same ECU and software as 2020 stuff. So it's a crapshoot and it's always that way with the very latest fresh off the line cars. It could be a new software rev we just haven't seen yet. We just need to get our hands on one.
So on June 15th, if someone has a 2021, what will they need to do?
You can either go to a dealer, or if you've got they can tell you if it's on the server and contact us.
The box
code. Yep. Yeah. Or if you've got some code scanning tools, there's a lot of them these days that you can check the software numbers and shoot them to us at tuning at 034 Motorsport, and we can check for you.
There you go.
So yeah, there's a number of ways, but we need to see basically what exact software is on your vehicle to 100% give you an answer if we can flash you that day or not.
Yeah. So it could be supported depending on what box code you have. Yep. Otherwise, it will be coming soon.
Yep.
When can we expect the updated tune for the B8.5 SQ5 3.0 TQ5? Is it actively being worked on?
Updated tune. I'm guessing they mean the TCU.
Is that?
They want
right. That's all packaged. So I think the question here is for the supercharged 3-liter vehicles with the automatic transmission. Are they going to get some of the advanced launch control features? It is being worked on. We have actually had a number of talks internally to get that AL551 stuff wrapped up. So it is being worked on. Hopefully no more, the next month or so.
Someone's asking, why have there been cases of your DSG Catch Can leaking fluid? I'm assuming this is the DAZA.
Probably.
Well, there are reported cases of other catch cans on the market leaking as well. There appears to be some DSG transmissions that puke, for lack of a better term, much more fluid.
Yeah, and we don't have a lot of info, I think, on the case or the couple of cases we have. So we don't know fill levels where those were at. They're pretty sensitive on those cars.
I mean, we have probably 400 or 500 of those catch cans installed in cars in the field.
Right.
And we've heard of maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 at the most.
And these are coming from
we've had 4 cases where someone said that this was happening.
Yeah.
We have them on shop cars here. We install them in our service department every week on customer cars. So this is not a widespread problem with our catch can. Again, Iros was the first one to come out with their catch can, and there are customers in these threads saying theirs does the same thing. So,
and it's not. I mean, it's a simple device, right? I mean, it's retaining and ideally returning fluid back to the trans.
Well, some people think it's really complicated, and we must have copied it.
If you're overcoming that ability for that can and that line to drain back fast enough, with the amount of fluid or gases that are getting pumped out, you might get some residue on the top or some leakage past the top.
I don't want to come across as minimizing it or discounting. We would prefer that this wasn't happening. Certainly not with our catch cans or anyone else's. We need more information. Our cars don't do it.
Yeah.
These are on
cars. These are on our stock cars, which were puking quite badly out of the stock vents.
Horrible.
Stock, little tiny breather that's on there. We had a lot of fluid, expulsion through that, and then none since we put our cans on. So
I don't, we don't know how much fluid is coming out. How bad of a problem is it? Is it some kind of residue, or is there actually a lot of volume of fluid? And then, there's also a possibility that we could put some type of media inside. And so we're going to be testing that with hopefully some of the customers that have contacted us.
Just to give it more trapping ability.
To see if it can just
slow down. Literally filling the can, nothing is going to fix that.
And then it's just how big do you want to make your catch can? It's just going to get bigger and bigger to deal with it. So we're aware of what's going on. Again, our catch can does work on the vast majority of all cars it's been installed on. It works great. We tested it. We've track tested it, street tested it. We've tested it on big turbo cars, on
Multiple
stock
revisions. It's got a internal baffle plate we worked on to minimize any, as much as we could. So.
And then I'll just add, as always, if anyone's watching these things play out, there is an additional element of certain people like to over dramatize and escalate, possible issues and make them sound much worse than they are. And so there's also an element of that. So we just need to keep that in mind. But we're more concerned about it than anyone. It's our product. Our reputation is on the line, and we just don't know why a handful of those, literally one handful of cars out of many hundreds, is experiencing that. And we had actually never been contacted about it before that was posted about. And again, dramatized by certain people a couple weeks ago. I'm currently tuned by APR on my B9 S4. Will there be a discount to switch over? How can I take advantage of this?
Yep.
Yes, we do have a upgrade program where we, if you can,
just show us your proof of purchase.
Yeah, proof of purchase
if we need,
and we will be happy to do that. So you can just email contact@034motorsport.com and inquire. The good thing about switching over is you will be getting in at the ground level on our ECU tune, and so you will get all future updates for free. So it's kind of like an investment of sorts. We are already working on the next round of features and functionality that we'll be adding to these tunes, and we haven't seen anything like that from the company that you're currently on. So how soon will you be able to support 2021 DAZA? We're working
on that right now, actually. Yes.
Yeah, it's a high priority. We have a relatively high profile social media personality that we're working with, and they have a 2021.
Yep.
And like Nate said, this is something that we're actively working on. And we recently acquired some of the assets that we need to evaluate.
Yep. Yep. So that's actually something I'm working on later today.
There you go. What do you gain by tuning a ZF Trans on the B9 S4? Good question.
It's a number of things. At the core of it, the biggest thing you gain is a larger allowable torque that it's going to permit the ECU to output. These have it's a defined number in the TCU of how many Newton meters it's going to allow the ECU to produce. And then beyond that, it'll just simply say, nope, no more. This is where you stop. I'm not going to let any more torque be produced, and the ECU will start pulling back timing and boost to account for that. So the number one thing is just removing those or adjusting those limits as needed to account for the more power, the greater power and the greater torque numbers that we're putting out of the ECU. And then beyond that, it's shift points, so we can further optimize. We've got a different power band now, so you can further optimize what your shift points are. And then, generally, if you're tuning the ECU, you're the kind of person that's going to want a little crisper shift performance at full throttle. So, it's a number of things. It's not, the transmissions generally aren't as multifaceted as the ECU, but they are still very complex to work on and get in there and calibrate. But the end result is you ultimately want a transmission that'll deal with higher output, higher torque output. The shift points are going to be different, so we adjust for that, and then shift speeds, and then depending on make and model, we'll do some launch control tweaking as well.
Cool.
That's the gist of it.
Here's a hard-hitting question. Someone says, in regards to the 3.0T tuning deep dive, this video didn't get into any of the unparalleled features. I don't think we called it that.
No.
We did talk about features, not unparalleled. So you've sort of a straw man. You've set something up to knock it down. None of our features we've claimed for 3.0T are unparalleled. So I'd like to establish that. But there are features, yes. Everything you've mentioned, someone else is doing already or is actively working on. Did we really get into the features we're going to be adding?
We talked about
little
the
bit?
advanced launch control stuff,
Okay,
some of the flex fuel things.
Is anyone else doing advanced launch control on B9 S4?
Not that I've heard,
Yeah.
nothing
So I guess
our
that
other
would be
stuff, so.
unparalleled, but everything you mentioned someone else is doing already or is actively working on. It's possible
We can't
other
speak to
are
what
working
people are
on it.
working
Yeah,
on.
we don't know. You hit at APR dropping a tune and then maybe never updating it. Well, that's not wrong. Yeah, and they don't. I mean, we're talking about tunes that have been out for a very long time. While that's not wrong, it's kind of funny that you are dropping a tune a full year after everyone else, actively criticizing competitors and suggesting you are doing something different. You aren't so far. Well, we haven't released the tune yet. We will. Yes, it's later, but it doesn't change the fact that a substantial amount of B9 S4 owners still don't own tunes. In fact, we did a survey, and over half of all customers, potential customers that responded, were not tuned. So we're coming out later, yes, but we're establishing ourselves as a great option, and also as a company that actively works on and supports and improves our tunes.
And just a point to that also, being first to market doesn't mean being best to market.
No, I don't know.
I'm not saying one way or the other, but you can't equate quality with a release date.
Well, this person's trying to make some point that we shouldn't be able to say that we're going to update our tunes because it took us a year later. So we were doing nothing.
Yeah.
But I mean, our tune wasn't released yet. So once it's released, we will support it. Yeah. We can't support it before we release it. So, I don't know who made this comment and where they're coming from, what their perspective is, but everything we said in that tuning deep dive video is what we should be saying as a company who's passionate about releasing. It's
our philosophy. It's how we approach these calibrations. It's we're trying to show you how we do it, and
that's all we can do is talk about that. And you even admit that APR isn't good at supporting files once they release them, and that's what we said. We didn't call our.
I don't even think we called them out. I think we just said other brand.
No, I do. I mean, I did in this. I did already today. I said that APR doesn't support or update their tunes after they.
My B8 FSB APR tune hasn't been updated since 2016. Yeah, it's tough. So
yeah, so I mean, I don't know what you want from us. We're gonna release this tune a year after APR. Yes. We believe it will be a better tune, and we know that we will support it better than they have. If you really want to get the APR tune or stay on it, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that,
as we discussed last week, it's a free market.
It's a free, wide open market, and all we can do is position ourselves. We spent 30 minutes going into deep details about what our tune would do and how we go about tuning and just general information about these ECUs. I haven't seen APR or any of our competitors do that. So, yeah, and we're gonna compete. We're gonna go head to head. If you don't think our product is good, let us know how, and we will continue improving it. And we're here. We're committed to that. All right. Can you walk us through important stages of 0 through 4 development as a company and different challenges associated with them?
Ooh. We should call our company history like stage 1, stage 2, stage.
So are they talking about the development?
I think the company itself, yeah. Like where we've come from, over the years.
Gosh, we could talk a whole.
This would be a whole episode,
yeah. I'll say I think about this a lot, and I feel like 0 through 4 motorsport very much represents where I'm at in life. As an extension of what stage in life I'm at. And so I started the company, I was around 30 years old. And the company was very much like a 30-year-old entering the world, trying to figure out who you are, what it is, why it does things. And when I started the company, and Nate was one of the first people that came on. I think it was much more about the experiences that we were having. So we immediately got into different types of racing and motorsports, and we produced a lot of fun, exciting products that were important to us. It didn't necessarily result in the most successful business financially, and it was not an easy business to run. It was very difficult because every part and product was Nate or I or someone at the company was like an expert on, but there was no documentation. And if that person left, and so I just had to learn how to do everything in the company myself, because if Fred or Jack ever left, I would have to replace them because there was no systems or documentation or anything around.
As it is with many companies in this industry.
Yeah. So it was kind of hectic and chaotic and a lot of fun, kind of like what life can be like when you're in your early 30s. And then I started having kids a couple years in, and so I had to make a commitment to, because I was working like 7 days a week, like 18 hours a day, and so when my wife got pregnant, I made a commitment to. I said I'm not going to work weekends. I'll work as much as I need to during the week, but Saturday and Sunday I want to be home. And so that immediately initiated some changes at the company where I had to hire some more people, and I actually had to like give some of that information away to other people, and we had to start slowly documenting and making the business so that it could run without me in every little part of how the company worked. And then, I think that ultimately led up to some pretty traumatic things happening to the company in the kind of the 2012, 2013. Just had some big business challenges, some legal stuff, and the IRS and OSHA and the labor board, and dealing with that and learning how to professionalize the company.
Growing pains is a real thing.
Growing pains, and just realizing like the things you didn't know that you didn't know. When you start a business, not only are you able to generate success, but you generate a tremendous amount of liability with every step of the way. The more people you hire, the more money you make, the more products you sell. Every business activity comes with this dark liability attached to it, and if you don't know you have that liability, then all of a sudden it just keeps building and building and building.
You can go for years just ignorantly bliss to your success, and then all of a sudden it can bite you.
And you think you're doing the right thing, and you think,
and it's not out of malice. It's just it's just one of these things. It's you try and just use your common sense filter and carry on, with what you think would be the best way to approach things. Yeah. And there may be some legal catch here or there, some nuanced law that you're not aware of that you have to abide by.
So we had to learn, and led by me, on how to limit liability and make the company successful and safe to operate at the same time. And I think through that process we realized we want to create world-class, top quality products that are beautiful, that the customers receive them, they open the package, they install it. There's minimal DIY elements to it, minimal amounts of tech support to go along with it, that there's good instructions, that the parts are quality controlled, and that our customers are having good experiences, so they're not constantly coming back to us saying, why doesn't this fit, what do I need to grind, how do I wire this, or whatever the case. And that starting in about 2014, 2015 has led to the current company you see with our current products, and the type of business we are, where there's less racing and crazy fun stuff and lifestyle stuff, and more people coming to work, working in the role that they're assigned and responsible to, and us producing the kind of results we need to be the company that you guys want us to be.
Well, and I think you've said it, before in a number of meetings we've had is you're much more focused on not tuning cars, you're tuning the business now.
The business is the project.
That's what's being worked on and tuned. Mm-hmm. Your product and your output is the business much more so than the actual products.
Absolutely, yeah. It's just tough. I mean, you can have a lot of fun and you can go racing and have project cars, but when Monday through Friday is hell, because it's so difficult to do, then that kind of takes all the fun of the racing and all that stuff out of it. So we're that's kind of a real quick high level view of us maturing and growing up as a company. And 0 through 4 Motorsport very much feels like it's in its mid 40s. Much more established, reliable.
Seen some things.
learned a lot and is looking towards the future. So, yeah, great question though. Appreciate it. If you have any follow-ups or anything specific,
Yeah, if you want to know any details specific,
Yeah.
we're happy to talk about where things have come. It's been quite a road.
yeah, yeah, we've all learned a lot, and the school of hard knocks, and
Yeah.
yeah. How good will the newest SQ5 be? Aftermarket parts and tuned. I got a baby on the way and thinking about selling my B8.5 S4 for one. Well, I've been driving Nick's B9 and it's amazing.
Yeah,
I kind of want to
it's nice. It's one of the evolutionary steps in like tech packages and
got, all the good
creature comforts. So it's especially if you get into the latest stuff. So coming from your B8 or B8.5, you're going to have a kind of a whole new world of options and tech packages available to you for that. So
and it's with our stage, even just our basic 91 octane stage one, the car hauls.
Yeah.
It's quick.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
It's really fun.
It'll be on the 85 later.
The handle's good. It's got 295s all around on 10 inch wide wheels.
Ridiculously competent. Like the thing is,
The handle's
it's
good.
not a wallowing SUV by any means.
Definitely great if you have a kid. It's a great family car. I would just be careful. Maybe get one of those like rear seat covers, to cover all the baby
nice
seats,
seats, yeah.
the food and everything. It's probably the only issue with kids, I would say, is it's probably too nice to let kids ruin it. But if you can deal with the messiness, logistically speaking, it's a very
Fantastic
safe,
car. Yeah.
roomy car. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd wholeheartedly recommend one.
I know. I'd say space wise for a kid might be on the tight side, but I mean, it's like your
With
B8,
one
it's
kid?
your B8. With one kid, you'd probably be fine.
I think one's fine. I mean, you could do two as well, but yeah, any more than two, and you're gonna want like a Q7 or something like that. And I have 4 kids. We have a Honda minivan. We have for a long time, and we get a new one every 3 years, and it's really nice. It's just the minivan platform. You open the door, you can stand there. Everything's accessible. Like the whole side of the car opens.
Like you said, everybody's sitting. We're in the mid 40s.
Yeah.
Thing here.
Yeah. Will you be releasing hybrid tuning options for the B9 3.0T? Which turbos are you looking at?
Hybrid turbo. I'm assuming that's what that's going after.
Yeah, hybrid turbo.
Yeah, we're not going to be hybrid.
Maybe link the deep dive, but we are currently working on the Pure 750 and the TTE 710. I think it is.
Yep, those are the two we've got.
Those are the two so far, and we will definitely be sporting it. The 3.0T needs it. The stock turbo is limited at about 450 horsepower.
Yeah.
So, which is a blast. If all you want is 450 horsepower, the stock turbo rocks. There's no lag and it pulls clean, to red line. But
there's a lot more that the motor can deal with.
The motor can handle a lot more. We can get up into the 600 horsepower range, pretty easily on pump gas. Could you provide some insight into some of the challenges with the designing and manufacturing wheels? Well, I'll just clarify. So we work with a professional wheel designing and manufacturing company. So we didn't have to learn how to do it ourselves, and we didn't really want to. We are experts at designing most of the rest of the product line that we do. I'd say virtually everything.
Yeah, wheels kind of have their very own set of standards, regulations, specifications that really have to be hit.
And engineering, and knowing how much material.
And not to say we could, but
strength.
it's one of those things like, we're going to need to work with a partner to manufacture, forge, cast, whatever we're doing, however we're making them. So we teamed up with the right partner, and they've been critical in that. But the design, the design is us, and that was a lot of revisions and a lot of little tweaks to kind of get to where we are. It's both, there's a number of functional elements in it, as well as it's a wheel. It's a lot of it is style and aesthetic as well. So you got to balance that.
I think a lot of the challenge is making the wheel look how you want while maintaining the strength and weight. And of course, then also trying to get it as light as possible while maintaining the weight. And that's what we've struck.
We use our wheels. We're on track with them all the time. So we're, it's weight, it's strength, but it's usability to the size of the, your access holes for your tools to get lug bolts or nuts on and off, to rotor brake clearances, to wheel weight pad provisions, to bead grip, to you name it. It's a lot of stuff that goes into a wheel.
But we before we came out with ZTF wheels, we were working and we were reselling other brands' wheels, and we were constantly bending those. And granted, there were flow form style wheels, but
Multiple other brands through the years.
yeah, and actually, there's several flow form options on the market, and we would bend all those, and we haven't bent one ZTF wheel.
We were bending wheels left and right. The center caps would fall out after every session, so we either had to pop those out, which with those designed, you couldn't get them out without taking the wheel off, so you had to take the wheel off to pop the center cap out, or just do a track session. Then they
But yeah, they would. You'd pull in, and they just all four fall out onto the pavement.
Pretty much,
after a minute,
seconds apart, just tink, tink, tink.
So yeah, the main thing is does the wheel fit? Is it as light as possible, and does it have the strength to withstand abuse, like potholes and road irregularities and things like that? And again, we haven't ever, not to date, had one wheel get damaged or bend. And the other companies, you'll be going down the road and you hit something and the freaking lip folds over, and they make it sound like you did something really terrible. And these wheels, you do the same thing, and there's no bending. There's nothing. So it is a strength issue with a lot of wheels on the market. That's what you get when you buy a forged wheel. And our forged wheel is probably a little cheaper than 2 sets of flow form wheels.
Yeah, if you're.
But on the flow form, you just have to be prepared to replace wheels constantly, or pay to have them repaired. And so the forged wheels are a good investment if you really want to get something that's strong and that you don't have to worry about. And of course, it's not, it's only they are damageable. They're not indestructible.
Of course.
But again, from everything,
especially curbs and things, they'll still mar up your wheel.
Oh yeah, if you curb them, yes. But I've got tens of thousands of miles on ZTF.
We've got a lot of miles and track miles on all of our cars now. MQB, B8, R8, SQ5 now, B9. So yeah.
Yep. Someone's asking about our street density motor mounts, saying, what makes your street density motor mounts the most substantive option for the B8 S4? What NVH can I expect with street density? What's the connector for on the motor mount? So yeah, this question came in, so we grabbed one of these. This is our street density. Have the V6 and the 4-cylinder have very different NVH characteristics and profiles, and so I think some of the mounts we even if it's street density for the S4, it's track density for the A4, because the A4 has a lot more NVH. It's a less balanced, less refined motor, so it does have more NVH. But these are our mounts. They're a direct fit. These feature a solid rubber construction with all the fluid and hydraulics removed. Normally there's like a hydraulic bladder in here with some valving that kind of acts like a shock, and then electricity is applied, and I'm not sure exactly on this, but either the fluid is magnetic or the valve opens or closes and changes, which makes the mount stiffer. So we've removed all that valving, so that's no longer functional, although we keep the electronics, so when you plug it into the car is happy. So the electronics are still inside here, but the valving and the stuff that's failure prone is gone. So yeah, and then much better performance. I'd say these are pretty much a lifetime product on this car, where the factory mounts, you got to replace them probably every 30 to 50,000 miles, depending on how hard you use.
Yep.
These last, as far as we've seen so far, I think we've been selling these for 6 or 7 years, and I don't believe we've been seeing any failures. Very, very solid, reliable product, much better performance. And again, if you get the street density, the NVH will be minimal to not noticeable.
Yeah.
The track density will be noticeable.
Yeah, and it's a tough thing to quantify, because most people that are swapping these in are coming from very broken mounts.
Yeah, sometimes the mounts are actually separate.
It might be better than the NVH you've got now, because these can completely collapse. You can end up, almost riding on the base of the mount. So that's a tough one to quantify. But yeah, it should be a very livable mount for your day-to-day use. To the end that most people probably wouldn't know it was modified if unless you told them.
Yeah. So yeah, very popular, much cheaper than factory replacements, and designed and engineered and manufactured for performance-oriented use. Unlike anything else that we've seen on the market, but I actually think maybe someone has knocked these off. But these B8 mounts are literally our most popular products. I mean, they're in the top 5.
Yep.
We ship dozens and dozens of them every day. So very happy customers, which is a huge win for always what we're looking to do. Is there anything else you'd recommend changing out when doing motor mounts on the B8.5 S4? I don't know.
Not a lot in that area that you're going to be sharing with.
Yeah, I'm not sure that there's any while you're in there stuff.
Transmount stuff, you can inspect that. Those don't fail nearly at the rate these do.
I mean, you should consider doing our transmount and insert while you're doing these, but I don't think there's anything else that's right there that makes it a lot easier. Unless
you've got maintenance stuff you really got to keep up on, like steering rack stuff, because that's all going to kind of drop down.
There could be some OEM type stuff.
Yeah.
Will the B9 S4 S5 be faster than the RS4 with a tune?
It is. From what we've seen,
so.
They're about equivalent.
About the same.
You get up to basically RS4, RS5 numbers, at least quarter mile wise, from what I've seen.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah.
On stage 1.
On stage 1.
Yeah. Yeah. The RS5 has a lot more headroom in the turbo system with the twin turbos. So the RS5 twin turbos don't max out at 450 horsepower. So they have like about 100 horsepower more headroom, which in this case is the advantage of the 2 turbos that equal bigger than the 1 turbo.
Right.
2 turbos don't always equal bigger than 1 turbo.
No, we've talked.
A lot of people.
I don't know if we've talked about that in the stream much either.
No.
A lot of people think multiple turbos is always the way to go because it's going to be better, but that's something that's you're doubling also your
thermal,
your losses as well, your frictional losses. You've got more bearing area that you're working against. You've got more, potentially more mechanical losses with 2 rotating masses there. So it's not a doesn't always swing one way or the other. You got to take it all into account.
Yeah, there's actually nothing magical about twin turbos compared to a single turbo, and thermally a single turbo and mechanically has an advantage in many cases because there's less heat lost, it's more efficient, and then there's less frictional losses because you only have 1 bearing section instead of 2. But a single turbo can be sized and operate as optimally as any twin turbo setup. It's just not always
twins is obviously usually a packaging reason, or if it's getting complicated, it can be a staged sizing.
There's the sequential twin turbo stuff, which everyone basically stopped doing because it was such a shit show.
It's really tough to make
in the 90s. That got kind of a gimmicky thing, but 1 turbo smaller than there's 1 smaller turbo, 1 bigger turbo. The small turbo spools up the bigger turbo, and there's all this complexity. To bring 1 turbo on and then seal the first turbo off from the second one, so that the boost doesn't bleed back through the smaller.
And a lot of that's been overcome in most modern engines with just more engine control. So your valve timing, valve lift,
that makes them bigger.
A lot of that is able to kind of circumvent what used to be characterized as like the turbo lag effect.
Is it safe to tune just the ECU for the B8 S4 for a while? If so, how long until it starts to wear too much on the DSG?
It is safe, yes.
It's safe.
It's not going to hurt anything. It will abide by the DSG's requests to reduce power. It will reduce power for most of your pull, so you're going to have a pretty substantial bump in performance once you do the DSG tune. Because it's similar to what we spoke about at the beginning of this with the B9. It's the same on the B8. The ECU, the TCU, the transmission is going to limit what the ECU is going to be allowed to produce. We do not fudge the ECU numbers, so it's going to abide by those numbers, by what the TCU is requesting, and it will derate power based on that. So
but it's not a safety thing.
It's not a safety thing. No,
you can
run it all day long. You're just not going to have the shift speeds, the performance you're going to get that you would with the TCU tune in there.
How does a Mark 7 front sway bar affect handling feel when the rear sway bar is already installed? So you'll notice immediately even less body roll. So you'll have a substantial reduction in body roll by adding the front bar, and you'll notice that the handling dynamic, the car is going to be a little less loose as far as oversteer goes. But in a Mark 7 front wheel drive, it's really going to help because that front sway bar is going to help keep the inside tire on the ground as opposed to lifting. So when the front of the car lifts, it leans and it can pull that inside tire up off the ground, or at least reduce the weight on it, and then it just spins. So our front sway bar is designed to keep that tire more on the road with more weight on it, and so that will give you more traction. So overall, it will be a better handling setup. I know all of our Mark 7s that I've driven that have our sway bar setup, it's phenomenal. The cars really do turn, and you can actually lay down power through the corner much more than you could on stock.
Yeah, we're testing some new suspension stuff on the GTI right now, which is going to do even more of that mid-corner.
So I would recommend getting the front sway bar. It's adjustable, so you can make it stiffer or softer. But it will result in a better handling, more fun to drive car. We haven't released front sway bars for all the applications we do. But on the Mark 7, it really, you do want
to. If we feel there's a need or enough of a market that wants that, that driving aspect to change, then we will accommodate.
How's launch control going to work on ZF8 on a A6 C7 3.0 with your tune?
I mean, it works the same as it does factory right now. We are looking at adding more advanced launch features to that. We spoke to that earlier in this stream. But currently, it works fine. It's the same as factory.
Do you prefer the DSG or the ZF8 overall, and which do you prefer when creating a tune for both? And I'll just say, unfortunately, you don't get to choose.
We don't get to just slot one in place of the other. So you're
I think everyone will agree that the DSG is the better driving transmission. I think, when I first heard years ago that the B9 cars were not going to be DSG, I and others had a concern that, like, are these cars just going to be, like, terrible to drive?
Yeah.
So it's not so much like, is DSG good or not, or is DSG better? I think everyone agrees DSG is great. It's a really good driving transmission, very good performing. It's pretty much the standard for a sports sedan transmission. But could the ZF8 offer an acceptable driving experience given that what we've experienced with the DSG? And I was pleasantly surprised that it was pretty darn close. Many people got in the car and thought it was a DSG. Because the ZF8 is so configurable, it can pretty much shift and mimic any type of transmission. And
not a manual, but
well, you can manually shift it. I mean, if there was a fake clutch pedal there, people might be shifting and pushing the clutch pedal down gleefully and not even knowing. But no, the ZF8, you don't have a choice. But the ZF8 is very good.
Yeah.
It's a very good driving transmission. It does great on track. In sport mode, it acts like a DSG for the most part. And then you do get some of the benefits of the automatic, where load is maintained through shifts, can be really nicely.
Yep.
The launch is really great in the ZF8. And then the subsequent shifting, there's kind of like this Amex type shifting that it does. It's very quick.
It's funny that when you get into the AMAX side of things, the differences become much less apparent because the DSG will basically emulate an automatic for the AMAX shifts, and the automatic's just like, I know how to do this.
Automatic don't care.
Nope.
So, but I mean, I've driven our B9 S4 on track many times. Gary, our COO, who's a professional race car driver, says it's the best, one of the best sedan Audi he's ever driven on track. And that's with the ZF8. So I wouldn't get too hung up on the fact that it's an automatic transmission.
Yeah.
This isn't your Tiptronic from the 1990s.
The
It's
early 2000s.
your 3-speed with overdrive. This is a whole different animal. BMWs come with this. Many sports
Yeah, and
cars.
I mean, there's a reason that the Audi RSs are all ZF8. They're not just gonna stick some slush box of a transmission in their flagships.
And then we're going to improve it even more with our
There you
tuning.
go.
So, yeah.
As for the what do we like tuning better? Honestly, it really depends on exactly what transmission you're talking about and who the OEM calibrator was.
Yeah.
So they're very different. They're very similar in some respects. If you're going Bosch to Bosch or Temec to Temec, they're going to tune similar between them. So it really depends on what software is on that exact model you're talking about. I prefer the Temec stuff, but again, not a choice. So
Yeah.
we get what comes to us.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's a fun, powerful transmission,
Oh yeah,
and it doesn't take anything away from the driving experience compared to the DSG. It's maybe I think we've described it here as maybe like 90 to 95% of a DSG, just as far as the enjoyment of it. So, and then not all DSGs are created equal. Like the DSG and the R8's like by far the best DSG I've ever driven.
The DL800,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
not
it's
to be
just the way it
confused with the
shifts.
early R-Tronic, which was a single clutch.
That's not DSG.
Basically a manual, a robot actuated, manual transmission.
Yeah, it's a single,
Dry clutch, single.
Yeah.
Not at all the same.
Can you expand on the GTI suspension components you are testing? Yeah, so we've talked about this. So
You think we already talked about this before?
we have our fixed camber mounts, which give you about 1 to 1.5 degrees of camber fixed. They're not adjustable, which is, frankly, in our opinion, a bonus. And then it maintains a density rubber strut mount inside, so there's no spherical bearings to deal with, and the NVH and associated issues with that. We are testing a new mount that will be a fixed camber caster mount. So this mount gives you. So normally we offset the strut shaft to give more camber. So what we've done, instead of just doing this, is we've done this. So now we're still giving about a degree of camber, but we're also adding about a degree of caster. And the testing that we've done on track and on the street is phenomenal. That extra caster does give you a better camber curve as the suspension compresses, so you get better traction and better camber while you're turning. And so we're very excited to bring that product to market, and I think it's a really good product for anyone who's looking for additional handling performance. We should have probably done this in the first place, but we've continued to innovate on this product and test, and so we'll be releasing that soon. We're just manufacturing the components right now. We are also releasing some adjustable lower control arms and adjustable ball joints. So for anyone who runs the camber caster mount, and that mount will give you slightly less camber, you can gain it all back with the ball joint. And we're even working on the ball joints giving you some more caster on top of it. So if you combine our lower control arm ball joint product with the upper strut mounts, it starts becoming a really powerful handling package. So we're very excited about those products, and that's some of the stuff we're working on and continue to push the envelope with these products. I know there's some other stuff on the market. We've taken a look at that, and we're again trying to find the 034 Motorsport take, adding, one-upping what's already out there, and making those improvements. I have your rear sway bar on my B9 A4. What benefit would adding the front bar? Well, it's similar.
Yeah, it's all the same talking points.
So the A4 is not quite the same. The A4 doesn't have the inner front tire traction issue that the GTI does, because it's quattro. And in the corner, even if you lift that front inside tire off the ground, you can still send power to the rear tires, which have more traction than the front. The only reason we offer the front bar for that application, the B9 A4 S4, is for someone who is looking for that body roll is more of a priority than kind of lift off oversteer. If you don't ever get the car loose and slide it around and stuff, then I recommend getting the front bar, which will just make the car feel more planted and responsive in the corners, and it will reduce the body roll. But if you really like throwing the car into a corner, lifting, and then getting back on the throttle and powering through, I'd recommend just keeping the rear bar and accepting a little bit more body roll, but keeping that oversteer attitude built in. Can you ship out your tuning cable before the 15th so we can flash our 3.0Ts on the 15th? Wow, that's proactive.
Yep.
Yes, I believe you
I don't
can.
know if we're set up to do that right now, but let's talk about that more after this.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about it. But I mean, it seems like
I don't see why not.
they could buy the cable
on site. Yeah,
it'll show up.
Yep.
And then their account will get created.
Yeah.
And they won't be able to flash anything until they buy a tune.
Right. So I don't see a problem with that at all.
Yeah, and the cables, it's $150. They're in stock. It will ship to you, and there again, if you don't buy a tune at the same time, then you'll get an account, but you won't have access to any tuning until you pay for a tune, and then our team will make whatever tune you buy accessible to you.
Yep.
So I think you could do that now, and man, I love the enthusiasm.
Right, I do too.
Very good. Resonator delete product for B9 S5. I'm not sure if we're working on one or not. I don't know if it's in.
You know, look, I don't know if that's on our.
I know it's been
board.
discussed.
Yeah.
Will the surge tank you are developing for DAZA fit other vehicles? GTI, Golf R, S3. If not, will you be? Yes. Yes. Our fuel surge tank, which we've been talking about for the DAZA, which was
There we are. B9 RS5. It's all scans. It's in development.
Yeah, we are working on a ResX for that, and it will fit. Is that one for RS5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're asking about S5.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I totally look over that? B9 S5. My apologies.
Yeah. So awesome. In the UK, they ran a European record quarter mile. It was like mid 9s on a stock block TTRS with a TTE turbo, and that was running our fuel surge tank. And our fuel surge tank really helped them run that fast run because they were experiencing a lot of fuel starvation issues launching, even with a full tank of gas. So they could literally run a 9-second quarter mile on the reserve in the tank and without any fuel cuts. That's a big problem that plagues the DAZAs. But our can will work on any of these other applications. We are looking at Mk7 applications.
Yeah, B8, Mk7.
B8 as well, and 4.0T. But we are going to... We need to just make a universal kit so that people can buy it and then they can just plumb it in themselves. And the good news too is this UK car produced like 750 horsepower or something with the Deechworks pump that we supply and had no issues fueling that. So the Deechworks pump is substantially better flowing than a stock pump. And then when you install it in the engine compartment, you reduce all the line losses.
Yeah, the line losses.
Of trying to force it up 20 feet of 8 mil, tiny little 8 mil fuel line. But if you're interested in using our fuel surge tank or testing it, feel free to reach out to us. We are looking at bringing more customers in. The tank doesn't need to be tested. It works. It's just a matter of fitting it in the car and installing it. So, and then also our tank, our fuel pump was on the world record B8 3.0T as well.
Yep.
Why do you make B9 front sway bar but not a B8? I believe we're working on a B8 one. We didn't in the past because we didn't feel like it improved the performance. But since we've gotten feedback from B9 customers who've been running the front bar who felt like flat handling, reduction in body roll was just as important to them as the handling dynamic. And so we are working on a front bar that we will be releasing. We still maintain that the car is going to be faster with just the rear bar and the stock front bar. But the front bar won't necessarily make the car a lot worse handling. It will definitely reduce the body roll to almost like nil.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of people are looking for, when they're just bombing around on the street. They're not sliding the car around or getting the rear end loose.
Right.
But we will release one in the future, and certainly we could have made a lot of money selling front bars all these years, but we did maintain, and we still will, that the best handling setup is just the rear bar. Tell us a bit more about the future of tuning with electric. Where's the opportunity? Okay, we got about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity. An electric motor generates torque through electricity, and there's a controller that feeds electricity from the battery pack, and that controller can work with voltage and amperage to control the amount of torque that's produced in that motor, essentially by controlling how fast the motor spins and how easily it's able to overcome parasitic restrictions on the drive side of the motor. So all the Volkswagen, Audi electric cars have pretty standard ECUs.
Yeah, there's not a lot from the ECU side that's all that much different. So, and it's all the same stuff. I mean, yeah, you can't turn the boost up on a turbo, but they are derated on certain platforms. There's other factors and considerations where you can get more power out of the
certainly
out of the
all
assembly.
None of the motors are running anywhere near max.
No, and there's a lot of driving style and characteristic stuff that can certainly be improved on. As most of these are very tailored to, at least all the early stuff now. Most people have the e-Golfs, the early hybrid stuff is tailored much more for a much more eco-only mindset. So there's a lot more driving style and driving manipulation we can do in there. So yeah, they're not all that different from a tuning and calibration standpoint.
So there is opportunity. There's opportunities to upgrade the battery packs. There's opportunities to upgrade the motors, electric motors.
Yeah, which ultimately, it sounds really far out there, but that's where everything's going to be going. So I mean, we're not talking about doing this next week, but it's going to be something that is going to be a thing.
You can do thick. I mean, even the Tesla stuff. It's a different software on the controller and a thicker battery
cable update stuff,
which carries more torque. So, more current. Yeah, for creating more torque.
Right.
So the future is bright with electric.
Yep.
It's electrifying if you really want to think about it that way. But really, this industry is not going to go mainstream electric for at least 5 to 10 more years, and most of us tuning companies in this industry will need to be focused on internal combustion in the short term to continue operating our businesses, because that's what customers will have and that's where the market is. But definitely, I'd say 5 to 15 years out, electrification will become huge. And, in probably 20 years, this industry will be doing only electric.
Yeah, I mean, just look around you on the street as you're driving. Obviously, most of the cars out there are still internal combustion motors. But
and most of the cars being sold at Audi and Volkswagen.
Yeah, but that's I'm sure you've seen changing pretty quickly. So.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, there's also a lot of stigmas. In fact, have you seen like R8 prices have skyrocketed, and a lot of people think it's because
they're going E only.
It's the end of a line. These internal combustion engine supercars will become a novelty into the future, especially Audi. Certainly, I don't think will be releasing another internal combustion supercar anytime soon.
Not on any kind of fresh development platform. No, it would be a iteration with a drivetrain package.
Well, it's tough to compete, right? So the e-tron GT RS is going to do 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds or whatever. Like you'd have to have like a 1,200 horsepower internal combustion engine to compete anywhere near that.
But yeah, I mean, there's always strengths and weaknesses to each power plant. So one's going to have, for now, the tech we have at hand, one's going to have a lot more range, one's going to have a lot more, potential torque. So
they don't sound as good, that's for sure.
Yeah. The visceral experiences are very different.
But internal combustion engines aren't disappearing; they're not going anywhere, and they're still like 95% of the cars on the road are.
It's not like there's going to be some day where just all the internal combustion engines are gone. There's going to be 20, 30 years easily of quite a large number of those running around the road still. So
the future is bright and exciting for performance. Even in the era of electrification, there's lots of great opportunities. And electric cars, due to the loading of the electric motors, it actually drives quite a bit different too. So when you lift off the throttle, it's a very different handling experience than when you lift off the throttle.
All of that's configurable.
Yeah,
different regen rates, different engine or motor braking rates.
Yeah.
So yep.
All right. Well, I think we're out of time.
We are.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And I think same time, same channel next week.
It's the plan.
So thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.